It's week 2. The number one player that you drafted in Best Ball Mania is injured. I don't know. Could be Justin Jefferson, who maybe is going to be coming back. Maybe you drafted Garrett Wilson and you thought that he was going to be Devontae Adams. Maybe you were a big Sam Laporta guy. You know, there's hope for all of these players, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown dealing with the MCL injury, but there are definitely some players that we do have to panic about. That is the unfortunate reality that we are in. These Monday shows are going to change tenure kind of based on whatever it is that we are doing, whatever is going on. Sometimes it'll be a best ball review. Sometimes it'll be some victory laps. You know, of course, we have ADP chasing the victory lap and bag defending program. But I thought week 2 would be a great spot to kind of zoom out on the chart a little bit, take a look back at some of the results from 2023 after 2 weeks, and then decide what players we have a very different expectation of moving forward. And I kind of thought a nice place to start would be to go back and to look at some of the results from last season in week 2 and see, what did we learn? Is there anything that we can learn from this exercise? And so I here have sorted by expected points, not actual points, right? Expected points, some of the players at the very top after 2 weeks in 2023. So I think the first interesting name here is Tony Pollard. We know how that season ended. He ended up, basically in the end, being one of the worst players in terms of fantasy points over expectation. He ended up very negatively after expectation. There are some other players here who we hardly remember their season at all. T. Higgins, we barely remembered T. Higgins' season. T. Higgins ended up being a player that didn't really matter at all in fantasy football last season. You know, he didn't play that well when he was on the field, dealt with a lot of injury, only played in 11 games, ended with 42 receptions, 656 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Not that ideal. I think Calvin Ridley, actually a great example of this, because Calvin Ridley was probably someone that you felt very good about at the beginning of 2023, based off the strength of his first game, but not based off the strength of his second game. Last year in 2023, Calvin Ridley, week 1, 8 for 101 and 1. Week 2, 2 for 32 on 8 receptions. The next week's against Houston, 3 for 40. The next week against Atlanta, 2 for 38, does score a touchdown, only tops 100 yards 2 more times. The rest of the season, of course, had that great game against Tennessee. A great example. It was probably a bad idea. I think in terms of the usage, it was a bad idea to panic about Calvin Ridley Jr. last season. Some of the other names here, Kendrick Bourne, negative signal there. Nico Collins, positive signal there. Remember Miles Sanders. Remember Robert Woods. Remember Alexander Madison. So I think looking at that, you can kind of see that the results through 2 weeks are not going to be that static. So let's jump forward and let's look at 2024 at the top of the expected points table. It's almost exactly, I need to move this towards 2024, and we will look at the first 2 weeks of the season. We only have one game of data here, but these are the expected points after week 1. Look at how quick things change. Cooper Kupp and Joe Mixon, you would have felt that you were just a genius. You would have thought that you were effectively one of the biggest geniuses in fantasy football had you selected Cooper Kupp, in the 3rd or the 4th round. Well, it's probably not going to happen. Cooper Kupp left the game on Sunday with an injury. High ankle sprain is kind of what it is, according to the reports. How much of a genius do you feel right now? You probably don't feel that great. Joe Mixon also left Sunday night's game with an ankle injury. You probably don't feel that great about that. In fact, you probably feel like you got one over on the field just by getting his very strong week 1 game where he scored 26 points. Actually, a fantasy points over expectation game for Joe Mixon. Keenan Allen, 20.5 expected points in week 1. You can't possibly feel that good about that. In fact, the Bears, that is my number 1 overreaction situation that I am panicking about. The 2024 Chicago Bears. I'm I'm really, really concerned about the 2024 Chicago Bears. Less than 350 total yards through 2 games. Caleb Williams has 267 passing yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. DJ Moore has 18 targets. Keenan Allen got 11 in week 1. Rome Odunze was just running wind sprints. Right now, as a big Bears backer, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was big on the Chicago Bears heading into the 2024 NFL season. I am now moving to a spot where I would like to be selling my Chicago Bears stacks, and I would be selling them at a discount. I think there are 2 things going on there. The first is that Caleb is a good quarterback. I don't feel that I don't feel that discouraged with the results that we have gotten from Caleb Williams. But what I do feel is that he is not being put in a position to succeed. And I want you guys to I want you guys to see, like, these are not empty platitudes. I feel pretty strongly about this. I drafted a bunch of Rome Odunze, a bunch of DJ Moore, a bunch of Caleb Williams, a lot of Keenan Allen. Not as much DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, Cole Kmet. I didn't really like those guys all that much. I must have taken Khalil Herbert and a big dog to get $1,500 in entry fees on him. But Odunze in particular, I felt incredibly good about. And I don't feel that good about him right now. The advanced data has not been that strong on him. I'm gonna pull up the fantasy points data suite here in a moment and look at some of the Bears data. But we have basically a bad marriage of scheme and quarterback. Caleb Williams doesn't seem like the ideal quarterback for Waldron's scheme. And I'm also not that convinced that Shane Waldron can even run that good of a scheme. That sort of seems to be one of the issues that is going on. The Bears do need to probably play Roschon a little bit more. Jacob Sanderson made this point on Twitter. I thought it was a very intelligent one, which is that the coaches seem to know that they don't really trust DeAndre Swift, but what are you going to do? Are you going to get rid of the guy that the front office just paid 3 years, $24 million for? So Rome Odunze, a 21% air yard share, only 8 targets, a 12% target share, 13 targets per route run, very low catch rate, horrible, a worse yards per route run than DeAndre Carter, very little yak ability. What is his 6 first read targets? So 6 first read targets does show what you would think, which is that they are trying to scheme some things up for him. But man, the thing that I keep coming back to with Rome was that Rome was not necessarily the best player on his college team. And in fact, his college teammates, Jalen McMillan and Jalen Polk, have had good starts to their NFL careers. So specifically when we look at Washington in 2022, it's kind of stark. McMillan has more receptions than Rome. Averages he plays a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, 1,098 yards for Jalen McMillan, 13.9 yards per reception, 9 touchdowns though. They do both outproduce Jalen Polk, but not by a ton, right? Not by a ton, right? And Jalen Polk, that was he had just transferred, but then the final season at Washington, I mean, the difference between Jalen Polk and Rome Odunze, like Rome was definitely better, but Rome was also a 4th-year player. Like for example, no chance would I be starting Rome over Worthy. Rome is just not doing a good job earning the targets. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is McMillan actually, if you go back in time, was viewed as sort of the top wide receiver on that team, even over Rome. Very odd to see. It's very odd to see 4-year players going as high as Rome did in the draft. Now, part of that is COVID weirdness. Rome barely played. Rome was not particularly good in the 9 games that Washington played in 2021. McMillan actually outproduced him, and some guy I've never heard of named Terrell Bynum as well, the Cade Otton who is now there. All right, we can do let's this is good. Let's look at the New England Patriots advanced receiving data. Let's see if we have anything good here. I mean, pretty funny that the two tight ends are the guys who come up first. I mean, how funny is that? An ADOT of 17.7 for Tyquan Thornton. Very bad yards per route run for all the wide receivers, which I suppose that you would expect. Something I would definitely be panicking about would be just if I was all in on the Patriots, which don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of Patriots in best ball. And I mean, I suppose things are better for the New England Patriots than they are for the Denver Broncos. If you were a Bo Nix slappy, we should be able to get some of the separation data. Let's see if we can get some separation data for the Carolina Panthers. I'm a little bit interested about this. Receiving separation by coverage. And let's check out the Carolina Panthers stuff. Because I'm wondering, man, how do I get this stuff for everything? All right. Versus man, pretty good separation score for Thielen. Not great for Deontay. A 0.0 separation score for Deontay in zone. Sort of interesting. I mean, obviously terrible yards per route run. But I'm just kind of wondering, yeah, the win rates are so low. Yeah, I'm not sending Caleb to 0, but I suppose that I fell victim to something that I think a lot of people in fantasy football fell victim to, which was, oh, well, they did the pattern matching thing. Oh, Caleb Williams, I mean, he's a better prospect than CJ Stroud. So why can't Caleb Williams come in and have a CJ Stroud level impact on the Bears? And he just has not done it yet. Yeah, someone mentioned Jermaine Burton. That is actually, I just want to look at the Bengals because this is my concern. Jamar Chase has been pretty good. Jamar Chase was on the thumbnail. I would be pretty concerned. I'm just sort of concerned about the Cincinnati Bengals in general. I think that they were being drafted overall as a team that is going to be in an elite offense. You know, the season that they were so good, the Joe Burrow season that was so good, it feels like kind of like a distant memory looking that scene. The crazy season for Joe Burrow was I suppose the 2021 and 2022 seasons were pretty crazy. So Joe Burrow in Jamar Chase's rookie year, I mean, look how good Chase was. 81 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Burrow was awesome, led the NFL in completion percentage, 8.9 YPA. That is incredible. That is about as good as it gets. 2022, worse per attempt, 35 touchdowns, 7.4 YPA. Small bounce back, little bit of a regression for Chase, but he only played in the 12 games. But then Chase since then, last year only has the 7 touchdowns, 97 yards through 2 games here. I definitely don't want to talk about Chase peaking as a rookie, but I think the shift in the NFL to all of the too high safety stuff, I mean, I see it happening a lot with Patrick Mahomes, but it's happening with all these great quarterbacks. I mean, let's just take a random NFL season. Let's go 2022. Let's go to 2017. And let's just look at some of the passing stats for NFL quarterbacks, and we are going to see such a stark distinction. Let's just go by YPA. We've got 15 quarterbacks above 7.2 YPA, 34 passing touchdowns for Russell Wilson, 33 for Wentz, 27 for Kirk Cousins. That was back when he was on the Washington football team. A great season for Tom Brady. That was one of the non-great Winston seasons. 8 YPA for Jared Goff. This was the last Alex Smith year in Kansas City. Drew Brees completing 70% of his passes. Now let's just look at what the NFL is like now in 2024. Let's look at these YPAs. You guys are not going to believe. So obviously we've got Carr. But I mean, look at this, man. Look at just all of the I wonder if I can do this with the advanced passing. I probably can't. I probably can't. The only quarterback who can't be stopped is Derek Carr. The data is very clear though. This is the lowest touchdowns that has ever been thrown through 2 weeks in like the last 15 years. Yeah, NFL is down crazy passing. I wonder if the corresponding rushing is up. I assume that basically what's happening is yards per play is just way down. So right now in the NFL, in yards per play, we've got average is right about 5.3. It's not great. Let's go back and look at 2017 and see what we had for yards per play. We go back and look. So we strip out some of the high end. I guess it seems about the same. I suppose it is really just, that is kind of the thing, is that the point does sort of feel true, which is interesting. Let's go back and look at some of the portfolio. Here's a good one: $4,024 of Chase Brown. Am I extremely worried about Chase Brown? I am extremely worried about Chase Brown. I feel that we might have reached the end of Chase Brown season. Zach Moss is just not going to come off the field. Basically, Zach Moss has played 65% and 80% of the snaps in back-to-back games. Now he's been bad. 21 carries for 78 yards, 3 receptions for 30 yards, scored the touchdown in week 1. Don't get me wrong. Let's just look at let's look at non-prime Joe Mixon seasons. You're gonna see very similar outcomes, right? 13 for 56, 13 for 59, 19 for 65, 14 for 67, averaging 4 yards per carry. And in fact, would have averaged less than 3 yards per carry until he had this game in week 17 against Cleveland. The Bengals coaching staff is very comfortable getting middling results at running back. Incredibly comfortable. Yes, Moss is absolutely the mix. And what is the film bro take? This is my knowing ball take. The 2 high safeties is definitely a problem. There's just no way around that. It just limits a lot of things that offenses can do. The quarterback play has been bad. I mean, we have a lot of quarterbacks who are not great. There's no continuity amongst offensive line. Basically there's just no, every year offensive lines get chopped and changed. The teams that do have offensive line continuity, I think, have an advantage. And coaching seems pretty bad. I mean, we are seeing with Clint Kubiak, right? That seems to be one of the big things, is you just have these quarterbacks who are just kind of doing their jobs, right? These coaches who are kind of doing their jobs. I mean, look at the difference here with Derek Carr. I mean, 5 touchdowns. He's had seasons with 19 touchdowns, seasons with 21, 23. He's like on pace to smash that. His touchdown rate is 12% right now. Now, obviously, he will regress a little bit. I think I wanted to look at Joe Brady, because I think something that we should be legitimately worried about is Bills wide receivers. So if you were a big Khalil Shakir guy, anything like that, look at some of these target distributions amongst the wide receivers for the Joe Brady offenses. 95 receptions for Robbie Chosen. Not a ton of work. for DJ Moore, and then just a total chop and change. 97 targets for Samuel, James Cook, or Mike Davis, who would be the James Cook analog. Only 31 for Ian Thomas. This was, I want to say, this was the year McCaffrey got injured. So he had 19 targets, but he only played in 3 games, and just a bunch of guys chopped and changed. The next year, this was the Sam Darnold year, an even crazier distribution where DJ Moore got all of them. But right, there's no DJ Moore analog on the Bills. That's the issue, right? There is no player that is good enough. And the Bills are a negative pass rate over expectation team. You know, they look like a team that is very comfortable to run the ball. You know, again, bad target distributions here. Again, only 7 games for McCaffrey. We have all these running backs getting targets, multiple tight ends, chopping and changing, a lot of rotations at the wide receivers. So here's the number one player that I'm raising the panic signal on. Dalton Kincaid. I think I'm just out. I think I am just completely out on Dalton Kincaid. Career high yards in a game, 87. Career high targets in a game, 11. He's got 3 touchdowns if you include the playoff game against there. But let me go back. Let me take you back in time for Dalton Kincaid. So this is Dalton Kincaid's college stats. And I will show you guys the Dalton Kincaid experience. Without this game against the University of Southern California, 16 for 234 and 1. I'm not certain that Dalton Kincaid gets drafted in the first 60 picks without this game. So that was 2023 or 2022. 2021, if I recall correctly, no 100-yard games for Utah. Did score 2 against Weber State. No games with more than 4 receptions. And then I believe he played at San Diego State before Utah. And he has 1 reception for 14 yards there. Oh, his San Diego State stats are not in the database. This will be a good one. Let's look at the prospect box score scout for our guy Dalton Kincaid. Yeah, he is an old soul, Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid, he's 24 years old. Again, remember, like a third of this yardage came in 1 game. We give him good draft capital. His sims are actually going to be good. That's the thing. Oh, that's right. It wasn't San Diego State. It was the University of San Diego. So his sims are actually going to be better than you think. Bauer shows up in there. Ertz shows up in there. And Njoku shows up in there. Ben Sinnott shows up in there. But I don't know, man. I gotta be honest. I really don't buy it. Yeah, Dalton Kincaid is a year older than Kyle Pitts, and I'll give you guys an example of why Trey McBride, why I'm so high on him and why I remain so high on him, was his production was so impressive at Colorado. Obviously, only 4 games here, 70% of their passing offense, but 1,000 yards on 90 receptions. That to me is insanely impressive. 37% of his team's receiving yards. Now, you could definitely argue about Trey McBride that he's got no nose for the end zone. I would not argue that. No, I'm not changing anything. I've already drafted. You know, I feel my portfolio on Underdog has definitely taken some hits. I mean, Dontavian Wicks, not great, although he did score a touchdown yesterday. Jalen Warren, I feel much better about. Deebo Samuel, how about this? How about this one for a panic button? How about Brandon Aiyuk? Brandon Aiyuk, I'm a little concerned about Brandon Aiyuk. Now, obviously, he hasn't gotten a ton of time to get Off speed. Well, sir, you were not a viewer of this channel or a subscriber to patreon.com/DavisMatt. I think I had Pittman ranked 73rd or something. I got absolutely no. Got absolutely. I mean, Michael Pittman. Take whatever you can get for Michael Pittman. So good win. Only one game of data. So the afternoon games second game must not be updated here on fantasy points stuff. Very good win rate in man coverage. Pretty good win rate in zone coverage. I guess the deal with Aiyuk is that he just was never going to step into a higher volume role. You know, Brandon Aiyuk he had 107 targets last year. And it's just very hard for a player to return second or third round value on that level of volume. So Aiyuk was going to have to just absolutely sun run. And he hasn't been sun running. You know, he just hasn't. It doesn't mean he's not going to, but he is not going to. He is not sun run for the San Francisco 49ers through 2 games. I mean, 107 targets last year, 1,300 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I mean, this is here. This will be a good one. Let's run. I'm gonna run a filter on StatHead. How many 1,300 yard seasons? Yeah, very good point. Do not sell the bottom on Brandon. I mean, obviously a little bit of this is kind of, I suppose, bag defending because I don't like Brandon Aiyuk as much. I was a big Debo drafter, not very much of a Brandon Aiyuk drafter. Very funny to see the Ricky Pearsall. All right, I'm gonna run a StatHead filter for single seasons since I don't know, let's call it 2000 for wide receivers or tight ends with less than 110 targets and more than 1,300 receiving yards. Just Brandon Aiyuk. Just Brandon Aiyuk. No one else even close. Here, let's extend it to 120. Extend it to 120. Maybe we get some more comps in there. Oh wow, Kareem Hunt. There you go. Yeah, the Kansas City backfield is pretty interesting. My breakdown moving forward would be Steele gets the short yardage, Pirine gets the third downs, and it's just not going to be that productive of a fantasy backfield. Like, I don't think I'd spend more than 20% or something like that. Yeah, I don't think CH is going to be back soon. I think it's pretty unlikely. The CH situation, for those of you guys who don't know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is dealing with real serious PTSD. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is vomiting so much that he is getting dehydrated because of this PTSD situation, and the medicine that they're taking him to help him stop vomiting is causing him to be dehydrated. This incident with Clyde happened when he was in, I don't remember if it was college or his final year of high school, but it was a really bad situation. Yes. Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire really does have PTSD. He and his friends got robbed at LSU, and he killed the robber. Well, I don't know if they died, but he shot the robber. And I think, as you guys can imagine, that would be a pretty gnarly situation. And of course, I wish Clyde well, a member of the Kansas City Chiefs family. But the thing that makes me think that he won't be coming back anytime soon is that this is not a recent incident for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, this is something that happened a long time ago. And I mean, obviously, I hope that Clyde gets the help he needs. I hope he feels better, but I'm not counting on him contributing to the Kansas City Chiefs this season. I think it's likely, like, how I would rank them moving forward. And I'll have rankings. If you guys subscribe to patreon.com/takecast, I do my rest of season rankings. I do weekly rankings and everything. My guess is that I land on Steele being something like the 39th best running back for the rest of the season, and Pirine being the 45th best running back, something like that. Okay, so this is single seasons, wide receiver, tight end, 1,300 yards, less than 130 targets. Suppose what's interesting about this is that of this cohort, like Debo's had a way better season, Chase has had a way better season. I'm just a hater. I think what's clear is that I'm just a hater on Brandon Aiyuk. It is what it is. All right, let's go back to my exposures and let's find some more panic candidates. Jaylen Warren, that's a good one. Should we panic about Jaylen Warren? To be honest, Jaylen Warren is not on the panic list for me. This is not that dissimilar from some of his games that he's had in the past where he's well earned this value. It's Jover for Christian Kirk. It was always Jover for Christian Kirk, though. It was always Jover forever. It's not happening. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is just too good. All right, great example. Actually, this is so funny. This is literally from the beginning of last season. 3 rushes for 6 yards. He did get 5 targets in this game. 40% of the snaps, 43% of the snaps, 45%. He's just not really involved as a rusher here. Then really starts to turn it on halfway through the season as a rusher. An important point to note, though, is that Justin Fields is not going to throw to running backs. I mean, that dude was born not to check down. I'm also taking Tank Dell. He's at a 0% on the panic meter. Tank Dell, a stone 0 on the. He has 11 targets through 2 games. That's fine. Snaps are not as high as you'd like them. Yeah, it is over Bryce Young. What was I in the middle of? Oh, I was about to look up Terry McLaurin's data. We will do Kelsey here in a second. McLaurin stuff is not going to be good. I can already tell you the McLaurin stuff is not going to be good. Yards per route run for McLaurin. That's bad. That's very bad. Oh, I need to go to the advanced receiving tab. Braelon Allen is just a great player. Braelon Allen might be he might be one of the I feel pretty confident Braelon Allen is one of the 15 best running backs in the NFL. All right, Washington. So we've got an ADOT of 9.2 for McLaurin. That's fine. Leads Washington by far in air yard share. 22% target, fine. 22% targets per route run, fine. Catch rate, fine. Yards per route run, 0.71. Less yards per target than Zach Ertz. Very little yak. The first read target share, you know what? It might not be Jover. That is a very high. I mean, how high is that? How high is that in first read share overall in the NFL? I mean, it's not as high as Cooper Kupp or Malik Neighbors, but it's pretty freaking high, dude. Yeah, it's the issue. Yeah, I mean that is definitely an issue. 0 rookie quarterback passing touchdowns through 2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, Braelon is going to score so many points if Brees misses time. And Braelon is going to score Braelon is going to score points anyways. Why aren't the 49ers throwing the ball to Mason? I mean, that's kind of the Shanahan's thing. You know, they never really were big. They were never really. But also, I think people maybe don't remember this about Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason was like not a prospect. Jordan Mason didn't get invited to the combine. Jordan Mason never had 1,000 yards in college, 17 touchdowns, 24 total receptions in 4 seasons in 43 games, 1 receiving touchdown. I mean, his sims are so bad. Look, do you guys recognize one player on this sim list? Do you recognize one? Bo Scarborough, sure. Ty Johnson. A bunch of guys no one's ever heard of on the sim list for Jordan Mason. Yeah, no, I'm not saying. Obviously, Jordan Mason is a good. Oh, Deneric Prince showing up. Obviously, Jordan Mason is a good rusher. He's good in the role that he's at in San Francisco. Like there's clearly no doubt about that. But I'm not expecting his passing game usage to be that high, honestly. To be honest, guys, I mean, I gotta write my waiver stuff for tomorrow. But is Kareem Hunt? Who tweeted this? Can I see the tweet? Will you guys tell me who tweeted the Kareem Hunt thing? Chapter 2. Just to visit. I mean, here's the thing. The last time we saw Kareem Hunt, were any of us impressed by what he did? I would imagine that at this stage of their careers, Samaj Piran is probably the superior player. The Saints are definitely for real in the sense that I expect their offense to continue to be good because Clint Kubiak leads the NFL in pre-snap motion. They're doing a ton of play action. You know, they're making it all easy. Well, you know, are the Chiefs dumb for not taking Dobbins? Because would you want to take Pacheco off the field for Dobbins? I don't know. I don't really know if you would. Yeah, I mean, Kareem Hunt, literally 3.04 yards per carry. Let's look at some of his advanced data. The advanced data is going to be terrible. 38% success rate. Brutal. I mean, that is so bad. 38% success rate at 28 years old is absolutely brutal. His broken tackle stuff goes way down. Yards after contact per rush all the way down to 1.3. Yards before contact per rush way down. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal. So sure. Yeah, we can. All right, we can look at the I logged out of fantasy points. But yeah, we can look at the Denver. I mean, I'll say this. The Denver wide receivers, I don't want to have a single one of them in fantasy football. Just absolutely not interested. I don't really want to have any Bronco. Even Javonte getting all these touches, I'm not really particularly all that interested in. Their offense is just so brutal. Yeah, this is a good question. Why would you want to see? I mean, I guess it'll just be funny. I would rather have Braelon Allen. I would rather have all these guys than Bigsby. I would rather have all those guys than Bigsby. I don't think the Arthur Smith offense is good, but they're not going to win a playoff game. Here you go. Cortland Sutton leads in target share, leads in air yard share. He has 5 receptions. I mean, 73 routes, 5 receptions, 31% catch rate, 0.88 yards per route run. The Dulcich thing, man. Jesus Christ. The Dulcich thing. Look at this Dulcich stats. 50% catch rate, 11% air yard share, 6.1 ADOT. God, he was so bad in that game. I mean, I hope we do. I hope we do get there. I hope we do get to 90% of NFL offenses just doing the cheating bullshit. You know, that feels, to me, that feels way better. All right, who else are we panicking about here? Not panicking about Debo, not panicking about Bowers. Jefferson feels good. A-Chain feels good. Rico Dowdle, that's an interesting one. Should I be panicking about Rico Dowdle stuff? Well, I will say it's not good. It's definitely not what you want. It's definitely not what you want. 44% snaps against Cleveland, 8 rushes, 43% snaps. He did. I suppose this is the we're really going to get into the granular data here. But Rico started the game. Rico got the first rush. Then Deuce Vaughn came in. Then Rico came back in. Then Rico came back in. Then Rico was still on the field for the 3rd and 18. Yeah, the Deuce Vaughn stuff, man, it's really, really bad for Rico. Because Deuce, I mean, that was a guy, like, man, if they can find a way to figure out how to avoid him being in pass blocking situations, dude, he was so good. 5.5 yards per carry, 3,600 scrimmage yards, 33 touchdowns, 82% of his team's rushing as a true freshman, 92%, 78%. Worked. Look at this, dude. 17% of his team's receiving as a receiver. I mean, he was just incredible, dude. 42 total touchdowns, 38% cumulative of his team's yards. And these were good teams. These were not bad college teams. These were good college teams. Now, he's not going to sim well because look how small he is. You know, he's the smallest dude. Although Jahmyr Gibbs popping up, A-Chain popping up. I mean, because of the career yards per game and the receptions and stuff. If you just didn't know how big he was, if you just didn't know how big Deuce Vaughn was, you'd be like, man, this guy's Ashton Jeanty popping up in the Deuce Vaughn comps list. I'm not even a K-State fan, bro. I'm a University of Oklahoma fan, but I did go to K-State. But it's a real issue. This stuff is a real issue. Let's see what happened on the next drive. So the next drive, Zeke 1 yard, Zeke 2 yards, then Vaughn comes in, Elliott comes back in. God, Elliott fucking stinks. Then Deuce comes back in. So when's Rico come back in again? Where'd I go? Rico comes back in. Rico comes back in after the Alvin Kamara 57-yard touchdown. Then Lamb scores. Then Zeke comes back in. Then Rico doesn't come back in until the third quarter. Has 1 carry for 1 yard. And then he gets one more. Yes. Oh my God. Dude, that was so bad. So Dave, I have to think about this for waiver stuff. But Pierce is injured too. Pierce was listed. Pierce didn't play. He did get 3 rushes in that first game against Indianapolis. But Dameon Pierce, I think we kind of misremember him because he was on that awful Texans team. I mean, 200-yard games, 4.27 yards per carry, ends up getting injured here. Didn't really function well as a wide receiver. 5.5 yards per reception. Yeah. Jawar Jordan is on the IR. Jawar Jordan is on the IR. Not going to be happening for Jawar Jordan. Yeah, I think if I had to, I think another element here that your favorite fantasy football website is not going to mention this, but Dare Ogunbowale, he plays a lot. Look at this in the back half of last year: 16%, 29%, 19%, 41%, 18%, 30% of the snaps. That was with Stroud. 31% in their playoff loss against Baltimore. He's a really good special teams player. And then already this year, Dare in their 2 wins, 16%. How about 32% in that game last night? I'm taking my boy Carson Steele over P. Ryan very minimally. Again, if we want to look back in the data from that game, Steele registered 3 touches before P. Ryan ever came in the game. Now, P. Ryan is going to get, you guys already know what I'm about to say. P. Ryan is going to get the McKinnon stuff. P. Ryan is going to get the third downs. P. Ryan's going to get, here, there's an easier way to look at this. I need to, I'll pull up the fantasy life down and distance stuff. Vikings are a good team, man. The Vikings are a good team. I'd be panicking if I drafted anyone other than Justin Jefferson. I'll tell you what. Oh, I'm not logged in. 16%. Yeah, this is I'm not logged in, so this is not going to work. I'll have to go back and log in. Yeah, sorry. The thing is Darnold is going to get a huge contract. I don't know, who will Darnold sign with? Darnold will sign with the Giants, maybe. The Rams, maybe. The Panthers, maybe. Yeah, Giants is probably the end. Titans. Yeah, it's not. Darnold's not going to the Panthers. Yeah, he's gonna get Dolphins. That's a good one. He's gonna get a 4-year, $160 million deal. Okay, let me log into Fantasy Life, and we'll be able to get the snap data. I know there's an easier way to do this. Might be the utilization report. All right, now I'm booming. I'm the boomer right now. But I know there is a way to get this data. All right, well, I'm booming. Let's go back and see who else we're panicking about. Well, I mean, I'd be panicking about Hollywood Brown if there was any reason to panic about him, but there is no reason to panic about him because he's dead. Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson are going to be my number 1 captains. Corum, Burton, Leggett. Oh, I feel very good. I feel very good about Xavier Leggett. I didn't do any marathons, man. The game log tab. There we go. Game log tab on the utilization report. Thank you, Josh. Here we go. This is what we wanted. Week 2, 26% of the team rushing attempts, 0% of the rushing attempts for Pirine, 16% of the routes, 16% of the routes, no targets, 15. These 2-minute snaps are fake. Pretty good utilization score though, honestly, for Steele. This is what I meant to do on our old boy Carson Steele. I feel like, dude, he's a real player, man. Oh, here's a good panic one. You guys want to panic? Look at what happened to Jonathan Taylor in this game. Jonathan Taylor, 27% of the routes, lost snaps to Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson, who didn't play at all in week 1. No 2-minute snaps, 22% of the long down and distance. You want to talk about panicking, dude? If I was a big Jonathan Taylor guy, I would be big time panicking. Yeah, that is very real panic stuff on Jonathan Taylor. 49% of the snaps. I don't know. I do not know why Shane Steichen hates Jonathan Taylor when the games matter, but it seems crazy to put Jonathan Taylor to put Tyler Goodson rather, in the game. Really crazy. Yeah, but that did happen. That is a real concern for Jonathan Taylor. Chicago Bears panic. It's panicking. It's not great. It's not great. So for Steele, 648 rushing attempts in college. That's a lot. 5.12 yards per carry. That's good. Pretty strong receiver. 57 receptions in 37 games. 4 receiving touchdowns. Not a great receiver by any means. And pretty, this is about who you would expect him to comp to. Marlon Mack, Travis Homer, Josh Kelly. Sure. Curtis Steele. I wonder if they're related. Justice Hill. Obviously a different style of player, but similar roles in the NFL. Elijah Mitchell. How about that? Compares to Isaiah Pacheco. It's pretty interesting. No, 0.0 panic on Tank Dell for me. Tank Dell's out there all the time. He's not gonna run block a ton. But the routes are fine. 12% of the targets last week is not great, but the routes are not meaningfully different than either of the other guys. It's just the snaps are down. His ADOT is super high. Look how low Diggs' ADOT remains compared to the other guys. It's not. He just has not started to score a ton of points yet. Zamir White. Sure, if I had drafted any Zamir White, I'd be panicked. He's just a bad role, bad team. Yeah. There's just no reason to take Zamir White. Actually, funnily enough, I have Zamir White on a team with all of the guys from Roto World because he went in the 11th round of this draft we did, and I was like, sure, I'll just take him. Let's look at the Tennessee Titans backfield. Tony Pollard, 70%, 68% rush share. Spears, 17%, 24%. He did get injured in this game. Obviously all the long down distance, although all the long down and distance stuff for Spears in week 1. So that's got to be injury related, basically. Pollard is just a good player though. Pollard is a very good player. And Spears, I'm undecided on how good of a player he is, basically. Who else? Let's give a real good panic. Let's send someone to the gulag, man. Who should we? Luke McCaffrey had 0 targets last week. Oh, there you go. Here's a good one. Bo Nix, completely done. It's over. So Denver Broncos, not doing it. Okay, Aaron Jones. Here we go. That is a very good one because he saw a real significant role change this week. Aaron Jones in week 1, 53% of the snaps. But look at these rush attempt share for Ty Chandler. Went way up. No targets, but he also was way better. Ty Chandler ran for 86 yards. Yeah, Jones did go to the medical tent, but he came back. Demarcus Robinson, not for me, man. Not for me. Other people maybe like him, not me. Yeah, just any Denver. Oh, reverse panic on JSN. Send the buy signal out on Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, truly, put the dude. This JSN shit. I mean, he's going to the moon, brother. JSN is looking like if you bet on JSN, 38% of the targets, 10.6 ADOT. I bet is 10.6 ADOT higher than any week that Jackson Smith and Jigba had for the entire season last year. Okay, he's got 3 games with better than that. 19.8, 11.7, 11.3. Yeah, JSN is JSN's a really good player. Blowout related on Dortch. The Arizona Cardinals ran the most 13 personnel in the NFL in the last 2 years in that game last week. So I'm not sweating. I mean, obviously, like Dortch is who he is. You know, he is who he is. But when they're up, I mean, bro, yes, panic about Tyler Conklin is a bad player on a bad team who's like 9th in line for targets. I'm not spending my time panicking about players who are just bad. That's a good question. Did we get any additive ADOT for Zay Flowers? I'm gonna guess yes. Yeah, look, his ADOT went way up, 4.6 to 10.8. How much fab on Braelon? How much fab on Braelon? %35%, probably. 35% is right about where I'm at. Yeah, that McBride. Here, I'll show you guys. Something, and then I'm gonna get out of here. And I'm gonna go do the Patreon NFL Showdown podcast on patreon.com/Davis Mattek. I won an 8-leg entry on underdog.com for $1,035.86 because Trey McBride recovered that fumble. Higher 9.85 fantasy points. He had 9.80, and he recovered that fumble in the end zone to get to 15.7 fantasy points and ship it home. How funny does that feel? That's pretty good. My Kelsey concern 0.0. You can get other opinions if you like it, or if you want them, but I don't know why I would have any reason to be worried about Travis Kelce. 84% routes, 91% routes. He's a historically great player. Brutal, Ryan. Brutal. Yeah. Sorry, man. Ryan took 3rd place in the or 4th place in the battle royale. The big battle royale on Underdog. Yeah, 5th. There you go. Dude had a sick shipper. He was the man. Okay. All right, fellas. Quick stream today. I'm going to go leave. I'm going to go record the Showdown Breakdown podcast with Easy over on patreon.com/takecast if you guys want to listen to that. If you don't, I will be back tomorrow. We'll be doing a Battle Royale sim stream. So enjoy it. Some of you guys have forgotten about the giveaway, but remember, anytime you comment on one of these videos, any video on my channel, any comment ever, it's an entry to get into the biggest giveaway in fantasy football history, where you can win 5% of my winnings post gross tax in Best Ball Mania 5. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, maybe become a YouTube member, come hang out with us in Discord, and then I will be back with you guys tomorrow. Hope you have a great day.